Hello, my friends. Welcome back. So we all know that AutoTune is really useful for pitch correction, but you can actually use it for way more than that. I love to use it in production and songwriting to create new parts and crazy effects. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The first thing I want to do is grab a synth loop. I found that AutoTune works the best on instruments when you use a monophonic sound. So think like, a synth lead, a guitar lead, and then you're going to get the coolest results if you pick something bendy. So something that kind of glides to the pitches of the part. I grabbed this synth loop. Pretty simple, but in my imagination, I can hear it. The first thing I'm going to do is pull it onto a track and pull up AutoTune Pro. I've got my key set, A minor here. I've got the input type set to instrument here. And then I turn the retune speed all the way up. Now listen to what that sounds like. Very interesting. All of a sudden, a pretty simple part has got all these notes happening in between the notes of the actual melody. Why is that happening? Well, like I said, when you pick a sound that has a glide, it's going to naturally glide through notes that aren't in the key of your song. So when AutoTune sees that, it's going to say, hey, let me snap this glide to the notes that are in key in between the two notes in the melody. That's what you're hearing with all of the extra notes being triggered. Listen one more time here. It's more interesting, but we can take that quite a bit further. So what you're going to do is you're going to duplicate your synth sound, okay? We're going to keep all our settings the same over here, but over here in the format and transpose section, we're going to make sure the music note is turned on and we're transposing it up too. This music note, when you click it, just keeps things in the scale degree. When you have it off, it's just straight up semitone bending. What does it sound like now? The real magic is what happens when I put these two things together. I hear that, and my producer brain goes, this is starting to sound beyond just like a splice loop that I grabbed. So let's take it a step further. First, I'm going to pan our original synth, hard left. I'm going to pan our transposed synth, hard right, and hear what they sound like together doing that. We're going to take it one more step, and I'm going to copy it again. And this time, I'm going to grab same settings as before, but we're going to drop it an octave. Let me solo it out. That's cool. That's got a little bit of grit on it, a little bit of attitude. So what if we left this lower octave in the middle and we kept these hard panned ones out on the sides? What's that going to sound like all together? There's a lot of character in that. There's a lot of emotion in that. It kind of makes me make this face a little bit, and that's a good thing. I mean, listen to where we came from. This is just our original boring loop. It's whatever. It's fine. But this? When I hear that, I'm like, let me write a song right now. So, if you're like me and that's what you think when you hear those synth sounds, oh, let me write a song, then what you might find yourself doing is, coming up with something a little bit like this. When I'm writing, I really like to write two sections, maybe just 8 bars and 8 bars, but I like to write two sections that kind of are related to each other. And a lot of times I like to have one element that kind of ties those two sections together. So for this idea, my element is going to be the synths. So I automated some EQ and I used our good friend, the AutoTune vocal EQ to do it. And basically I just wanted the first section to have a more chilled out, rolled off sound. And then I automated it to open up for the bigger section. This is what it sounds like. We're getting somewhere. But I feel like this moment right here where everything kind of drops out We can make that pop even more. So I grabbed 2 more copies of just this part. I pitched them up an octave and then put AutoTune back on them again. In this moment, we get a little extra pop. Got a lot of vibe, a lot of character. So the next thing I want to do is to just kind of get some like extra flavor, textures. The first thing I'm going to do is find just kind of a basic like vocal one-shot type thing. So here's one I found in Splice. This is what it sounds like. Grab our friend AutoTune Pro, make sure we're in A minor. I'm going to put the retune speed at 0, no flex tune, no humanize, and then I'm going to push the format up to about 130, and this is what that sounds like on the sample. And then we're going to use a similar strategy that we used on the synths, okay? I made a copy, same thing, same settings, except this time we've pitched it down to, and we've opened up the format even more. So I've got that panned over to one side. I'm going to pan the original to the left side, and this is what they sound like together. But what if we added one more? Let's see what we're doing on this one down here. Same settings overall, but we've pitched it down an octave and we've got the format all the way up for that. This is what it sounds like on its own. Put all 3 together. Love it. I wanted some variety, so every now and then I threw in one extra and it sounds like this. Classic octave up on the transpose. Got the format going the other way this time, which gives it kind of that like chipmunk voice thing, you know? So what do all 4 of these sound like together? Let's hear what it sounds like with a little verb on it. Okay, maybe it's more than a little bit of verb on it. But this is a super vibey kind of one shot that I can drop in at different sections. So let's hear what that sounds like in context. So I grabbed another vocal. This is what I found for the intro section. Here it is, just totally raw.
Oh, you know I'm right. 날 상대하지 마. 재미없잖아.
Not the cleanest vocal sample in the world. I feel like it's pretty artifacty. It's kind of roomy. The good news is, for what I'm about to do to it, that does not matter at all. I just cut out certain phrases because we just kind of want this to be a little bit ambient. We want it to kind of like build some tension through the section. We want to use it kind of like an instrument. The first and most important thing is we are once again using our friend, AutoTune Pro. We're doing hard tuning again. We've got our keys set up and everything, but watch this format knob.
You know I'm right. You know I'm right.
So just automating that format through the section really adds a lot of character and motion. It's kind of like a filter sweep, but it's more than that. You know, you're changing the tonality, the timbre. It's like the voice is constantly morphing and evolving throughout the section. I love stuff like that. All I did to do that was grab the throat length in AutoTune and I just automated throughout the section like this. Then I added some delay and some vocal reverb here for sauce. Got the plate on this.
You know I'm right. 재미없잖아.
Okay, so this first section is really starting to come together. It feels like the beginning of a song. This time I'm going to do a vocal chop. So I grabbed another vocal from Splice, and this is what it sounds like raw.
You're so pretty, and I notice, oh yeah, I'm so worried.
It's just a bunch of stuff like that, right? It goes on for a while. What I'm going to use this for is to just grab some of the most interesting little slivers of the vocal and we're going to turn it into a chop. You know, there's lots of ways to do vocal chops. For this one, what I wanted to do is I just made this track down here and then I would go through and I would listen to the vocal.
You're so pretty.
And I would just pull specific little sections here like this.
Yeah.
Sounds like something that would be in a vocal chop. So I would just grab that, copy it down here. You know, here's another one I grabbed. What does that sound like? Potentially interesting, this one over here. So I'm really listening for like, is there interesting motion? Are the notes interesting? Just anything that in my head I'm like, okay, if I'm like chopping this up, moving it around, repeating it, am I going to get like cool effects out of it? This is what I ended up with. If I just play them all smushed together back to back, no timing or anything, this is what they sound like. We have to trust the process sometimes. Okay, so we've got our nonsense phrases. The next step is working with those phrases until we start to get something that feels groovy. You know, it feels cool. Did that for a while. I will spare you all the process of me just trying random things. This is what I came up with, though, with everything in order. So I just pulled from those chops we did earlier, and now I put them in this order here. Kind of cool. So let's talk about the processing on this because it's helping us out. I've got my retune speed at 0 on AutoTune Pro again, not doing any format shifting on this yet. But look, I've got flex tune up at 75 and I've got humanize at 50. Why would I do that if I have my retune speed at 0? Doesn't, normally when your retune speed is at 0, you're going for like the hard robotic snap to pitch sound. With these clips, there's like little pitch scoops and slides that I think are really interesting and cool. And I didn't want to get rid of all of those scoops and slides. I wanted to keep them. So by turning up flex tune and humanize, I'm able to still get like the attack of super fast pitch correction on the like short staccato notes. But then when she like scoops into a note or like slides somewhere, this keeps that. So listen to that again. So we're kind of getting, the best of both worlds, to quote Hannah Montana. We're getting the cool pitch bending, we're getting the cool fully auto-tuned feel, but we have a problem. The problem is this vocal chop just does the same thing twice, and that is kind of lame, unfortunately. It's a cool vocal chop, but if we had just like a little bit of variation, then, I think it would make it a little more original, a little more exciting. How are we going to do that? We're going to pull up our friend, AutoTune Pro, but this time we're going to use graph mode. So graph mode is going to let me go into this vocal and I'm going to get to change around the melody without messing with my timing or really the character of the vocal. First, let me show you just how to capture something into graph mode. So you'll pull up your AutoTune, set your key, and then click over into graph mode. Some instructions here if you need them. And then I'm just going to click record pitch and time and press play. So now I can see this is the melody of my vocal chop. Look at that. Looks great. Now, basically, this is so simple. If I want to change the melody around, all I have to do is go to these note blobs and I can just be like, you know what? Maybe it goes up here, Maybe it goes down here. Who knows? I can do whatever I want here. Look at this. I can do horrible things to this vocal if I want to. The possibilities, y'all. The possibilities are endless. But let me show you what I actually did. So if you look through here, all I was trying to do was create a little bit of variation. And if you see this red line, you can see the spots where I chose a different note than the original melody that was sung. So originally this was down here. Originally this was down here too. I pulled this note up instead of down. I was just having a good time, y'all. But mainly what I wanted to do was create some variation in the melody of these chops. Let's hear what it sounds like now that it's not the exact same twice. Little changes like that can make a really big difference. I'm going to print everything I've done so far, the timing, the melody changes, the processing. On this track, I've got my printed vocal, and then I made 3 extra copies of it. We're going to create kind of an arrangement of voices using different octaves, different formats. We're going to blend all those together to make it really exciting and dynamic through the whole section. So on this first one, on top, it's just our original vocal, and then I've added just a little bit of this vocal reverb to it. So this is what it sounds like in solo, just that one. Copied that same vocal reverb to these other ones, and then let me show you how I set up each one of these voices. All right, got this one that I just called format. This format shift is up pretty high. Got it set to 160. Do I need glasses? Oh my God. So let's hear what just that format shifted one sounds like. All right, so that's going to be like one of our cast of characters for this vocal chop. Second one, we've got our octave up, pitched up 12, format shifted a little bit. This is what it sounds like. Little chipmunk friend we got to mix in there. And then we've got an octave down, format shifted. This is what that sounds like. What I like to do is I just put the section on a loop, and then I try just unmuting, different voices and different combinations of voices throughout the chop. And what I'm going for is I just want it to stay interesting. I want it to keep attention. I want it to always be evolving a little bit. I want to have points of emphasis, just all good arranging techniques. This is kind of the blend I found that I liked for all of them together. I mean, come on. That's pretty fun. This is pretty cool. I'm really loving how this turned out. Let's just listen to the full track again real quick from start to finish. We can hear all the cool stuff we've done to it.
You know I'm wrong. Turn me up tonight. You know I'm right. You moving low, you wanna boss hustle.
Beautiful. But really, it's wild how much using AutoTune inspired each of these sounds and then just kind of helped me figure out what the song could be all on its own. If you liked how I used AutoTune to do all this crazy stuff in this song, then you should go to AutoTune.com and check out AutoTune Unlimited. I think there's 20 something plugins included with that. You can use all the tools that I used in the video, or you can just grab a standalone license for AutoTune Pro. As always, if you like the video, it really helps me out. If you could give it a like, if you give me a subscribe, and down in the comments, let me know what's the gnarliest way you've ever used AutoTune. All right, I'll see you guys next time.